All right. Good afternoon, everyone.
Hello.
Some people populating the room here. I'll give you a second to join us before I give you some quick tech stuff. Wow, great number of attendees. We already have 20, 21.
That's awesome.
Wonderful, wonderful. All right, so there are some features of this platform that you'll be able to utilize. There's a chat and a question and answer technical abilities at the bottom. If you want to go ahead and introduce yourself in the chat box so that Rachel can get to know who's here. And if you want to go ahead and say what program that you're from, if you're not from FCC, or if you are from FCC, I know there's a couple of people from other programs.
Hey guys. See a lot of familiar names here.
This is wonderful. So my name is Gina Davis. I am the Professional Development Coordinator with Labor's team. Happy to support Rachel today, getting us digital in a very quick means due to our current situation. But without saying too much, if you need anything, go ahead and you can send messages directly to me and I'm happy to help. But it looks like a lot of people are sending their messages just to the panelists. If you want to respond to everyone, you click the little down arrow next to the two and send it to all panelists and attendees so that people can see your responses. Otherwise, enjoy your session, and Rachel, have a wonderful time.
Okay, thank you so much, Gina. Hi, everyone. Everyone made the time to join me today. I'm Rachel Riggs. I am an adjunct instructor for FCC, and I teach for our family literacy program at Rock Creek in Frederick. So I work a lot with families, and I myself am a mother of two, a 1-year-old and a 5-year-old. So as we're all kind of settling into these, well, maybe not settling into, it's a lot of chaos, but trying to settle into our new roles and schedules, I have definitely felt the impact of being a parent who suddenly finds themselves home with their kids all day and, trying to establish some routines and figure out what I'm going to do with them and all of that. So I'm really happy to be helping you guys through this process, and I would really love for you to interact and share your ideas and stuff. And I'm glad it looks like everybody has a good comfortability with the chat box. So that's where we'll be doing a lot of our sharing. So first things first, I just want to say to everyone face to face and human to human, put your mask on first. Not in the sense of the face masks that are being sold out everywhere, but in the sense of being in an airplane and saving yourself before you try to help others. Put on your oxygen mask before you throw yourself into maintaining communication and supporting the families who are your students. I just want to encourage you, all of us, to kind of invest in our self-care and our mental health and physical health first, because it helps you to be focused and you end up being a lot more effective that way. So I am, having to practice what I preach. This morning I woke up and the first thing I did was open up my laptop and start working on this presentation. And then I just was like, you know what? I need to take a deep breath, go for a run, eat some breakfast, and really focus myself before I can give the best of me and share my strengths. So put on your mask first and stay calm, stay focused, and we will move forward in our new reality. Okay, so let's get started. I just want to talk a little bit about what we're going to be talking about first, then we'll get into all of the content. So first, I want to talk about ways to get connected with your students and stay connected with your students while we are out of the classroom. So I'll share some tools and tips for that. And then we're going to talk about keeping students informed. That's mostly going to be centered around the coronavirus, what resources the community is offering, and information about the virus itself and stuff like that, how to share that with your students and keep them informed. Next, we'll talk about supporting parents, which is really what this is for. Supporting them first with creating a schedule, with maintaining their sanity, and no, I'm not joking about that, with stimulus, how to engage with their kids, with a whole day of being at home with them. And then we're going to talk a little bit about how to continue delivering your course content in a virtual context. So some tips and tools for doing that as well. Okay, so in between each of these sections, we're going to have a quick Q&A for people to just, based on that section, what we've presented, what are your questions that come to your mind immediately? And let's get some of those out of the way. And then at the end, we're going to have ample opportunity for everyone to share resources. I have a central location where we're all going to dump our websites, our PDFs, Google Docs, whatever it is. We're going to have a place for all of that. So in the meantime, while we're doing Q&A, just ask questions and answer questions. We don't need to worry about copying links and all of that in the chat box, because we'll have the opportunity to do that at the end. And of course, any resources that I mention are going to be made available. I will email this presentation out to all of you. I will share all of the links, and don't worry about writing everything down. All of this will be sent to you when we finish. So first of all, getting and staying connected with students. We have to tap into our digital tools to maintain communication with our students during the pandemic. So first of all, get connected is what I view as kind of our first reaching out to the students and making sure that we have checked in with them. So use something that students are familiar with, a phone call or a text message, something that you've used before, and you know, don't try to connect with them initially on some platform that they've never used before. That's the idea. And then reach out right away if you haven't already, and on an individual basis, ask direct questions. How are you doing? How is your family? If you know that they work, ask if they're working, you know, direct questions about their personal lives. This is the time to get personal so that they can rely on you as a resource and a guide. So, you know, don't be afraid to tap into the personal side of being a teacher and not just the educational side. And then also, I would take the opportunity when you first reach out to them. I'm sure many of you have reached out to them already, so maybe this will be your second time reaching out to them or whatever. But discuss a digital destination. So over the period of time that you're out of class, you're going to have to find a way to share assignments, or maybe it's just learning tools, resources, community resources. You're going to have to find a more convenient way to share that stuff with them than a phone call or a text message. So discuss with them when you reach out initially what you're going to be using. Make sure you mention to them, hey, I'm going to be sharing where to get free meals on XYZ. Do you have access to that? Do you have the app on your phone? Do you have internet access? And things like that. Oh, the title slide is still showing. I'm sorry, guys. Let me fix that. Thank you, Angel. Okay.
Is it not working? Oh, okay, there we go.
Are we seeing it?
Yeah, we can, it's okay. Just read, yeah. Now the little thing on the bottom, you should see the little arrows, but there we go. Perfect.
Good.
Yep.
Okay, thank you, Gina. Thank you, Angel. Okay, so sorry about that. So now we're at getting connected. You guys didn't miss much visually, I promise. So don't worry about it. Discuss where you guys are going to share the bulk of the content that you're going to share with students and whether or not they're going to be able to access it. So make sure you talk to them on an individual basis about whether they're comfortable using it and whether they have the tools that they need to use it. So what do I mean by digital destinations? here are some ideas, and you might want to pick a couple of them, or maybe you've already established these in your class, which would be great. But if you haven't already, just think about making that transition. Are you going to be comfortable using the tool? Are your students going to be able to access it, and so forth? So video conferencing, I think, is a great thing to be doing right now, to see each other face to face, to get the class somehow together and connect with everyone all at once. We right now are using Zoom, and that's what I would recommend. I put Uber Conference and FaceTime on here, but they're pretty limited. So if you can use Zoom, they have expanded their capabilities during this period of time so that the free account is pretty easy to sign up for and will give you a lot of functionality. And then learning management systems, if you already have one in place, that's great. Keep using it. You're good to go. If you don't and you're interested in having a place like that, I recommend Google Classroom. It's very user-friendly. You don't have to use all of the features on it to just have that central location for your students. All they need is a Gmail address, and there's a smartphone app that they can download. So it's a great place to kind of get everybody, again, digitally in the same space, and you can post announcements, upload content, create assignments. Like I said, you don't have to do all of that, but there's a lot you can do, or you can just do a little bit and still have a centralized place for everybody to be together. And then there's texting apps. When I show you where all of the resources are at the end, there's an article there that gives a bunch of different texting apps for groups. So you can read through that article and see, okay, what's gonna be best for my class? How many people are in my class? And do you need an email address and things like that? But for now, I put a couple up there: GroupMe, WhatsApp, Remind. WhatsApp is great because it's already very well known internationally. I know Remind is really popular with a lot of teachers. So you might consider using a texting app as that central location, or email is also just a great way to send out a message to all of your students. You can send out a message that has links to learning activities or documents that they can work on together. So, don't feel like you have to make it super fancy. You can just use email to continue that communication. And then you could also use a private social media group. If you have Facebook and you're comfortable connecting with students on Facebook, you could create a private group and invite them to join that group, and that could be a place where you guys stay connected. So these digital destinations are the stay connected piece. How are you going to maintain communication and share with your students over the extended period of time, who knows how long it may be, that we are out of classes? Okay. If you don't take anything away from this, I hope, if you only take one thing away, I hope you take a lot away. If you only take one thing away, I hope that this is it. Create a schedule for each class, an outreach schedule. I'm still working on mine. This is like a rough draft I've been trying to keep up with, but create a schedule for each of your classes and how you're going to reach out. I mean, just like we would create a lesson plan, how you're going to reach out. And like, I have different sections here. Check in. I'm going to check in on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Check-in is something that I'm going to use direct communication. I'm going to actually call my students and see, how are you doing and what do you need, and how are things going for you? And then also everything else I will be posting on Google Classroom, because my students are already established in Google Classroom and they know how to use it, and we've been using it. So I'll post general resources there. I'm talking about community resources, stuff related to the virus, information that they need to know. I'm going to post course content there, assignments, and things that hopefully they will continue practicing at English with, and things like that. And then parenting resources. Of course, I have a family literacy class, so all of my students are parents. You might not have a family literacy class. You might only have a couple parents in your class. And so you may want to create a separate group for the parents that are in your class to share those however you want to approach it. But I just kind of broke it down to, okay, what categories do I need to be sharing with them, and what exactly am I going to share on each day, and how am I going to spread it out? So I would recommend maybe your schedule won't look like this. Maybe it'll be even better than this because this isn't that great. But make a schedule just to keep yourself accountable and keep yourself on track. Okay, so let's do a quick Q&A based off of what I've talked about so far with getting and staying connected. Did any questions come up? And is there anything that anybody wants to share? How have you been talking to your students? Have you found something super helpful? This is the time for you guys to chime in. So let's see. How many semesters back should we connect with our students, or should we just reach out to the ones from the semester that ended today? My suggestion would be to talk to your program manager, but I would think just the people, whoever you had in an active class now is probably who you should be focusing on. Yeah, Angel said prioritizing your current cohort makes the most sense. Okay. Are we going to hear or see each other? Anna, do you mean in the Zoom webinar or with your students? Oh, right now, no. It's a little difficult to turn everybody's videos and audio on. So just if you have suggestions or questions in the chat box, it would be great. Pam says handling differences in students' access to tech. Yeah, Pam, so we need to really analyze before we start implementing a tool whether our students have, right now, Comcast is offering free internet, so that's good, but many students don't have computers. A lot of the things I'll be sharing will be like smartphone friendly. I think we need to really focus on what can students do on their smartphones. Betsy said the healthcare class, it's already had one online. Okay, great. So you guys are rolling with online classes. That's awesome. Google Classroom and Blackboard, excellent. Yes, Tristan, that's a great idea. Thank you for mentioning that. Give a survey about what technology works best. Give a survey about what they need the most. Do they need community resources the most, or do they want to be practicing their English? You know, like you can give a survey to look at a lot of the different factors of what you're going to be delivering over the next couple weeks. That's a great idea. You can use Google Forms as a great way to deliver a really simple survey. I use Google Classroom with my job. Have you set up any? I set it up with my personal email. Yeah, I set it up with my personal email, and I find that most students are able to access it. They have to have a Gmail account, and my students can access it. And if they reach out to me, they usually do it in Google Classroom. That doesn't come in. I mean, I get alerts in my inbox, but I don't find that it interferes that much with my personal email. Group text, my last group. Group text, okay, great, yes. Yes, videos, pictures of work, that's great. Work packets. Okay, you snail mailed work packets, or you emailed. If you snail mailed something, I'm so impressed. Okay, a Zoom class this morning, that's great. Okay, awesome. Text them and tell them to get on Google Classroom. Yes, Debbie, what I did with my students is I said, hey, I'm gonna be posting where to get free meals, where to get free internet, some English learning websites. You know, I kind of enticed them because we use Google Classroom, but we usually use it in class. And they don't engage with it that much outside of class, so I've been trying to entice them. I even posted videos of like me and my son doing some of the activities together, and I've gotten a good response. Google Hangouts. Okay, yes, that's another good one for Google Classroom for assignments. Great. Okay, great. All right, any more ideas there? You guys have some great ideas. I love the survey idea. Coordinate with the latest information. Yes, absolutely, Tristan. How is Google Hangouts? Quizlet. Quizlet is great, and it's really easy to send out on a smartphone, get people going, building vocabulary while you're out of class. Great idea, Debbie. Okay, Google Hangouts is pretty straightforward. Students need a Gmail, and it's very compatible also with Google Classroom. If you can kind of tap into the Google world, you'll find that everything comes together pretty seamlessly. So, okay, that's great. Awesome. All right, you guys, I am going to move on. Thank you so much for sharing your ideas. And like I said, at the end, keep in mind the things that you suggested so that you can throw them onto our Padlet that we're all going to share together. And I'm sorry, my baby just woke up from a nap. So I need to text my nanny and tell her to come upstairs and get him. Sorry, guys, this is just real life right now. Elijah is up. Okay, that's that. All right, so next, inform your students and make sure they understand the pandemic. I kind of think of this in a Maslow's hierarchy kind of way, like we can't start firing off, oh, here's some activities you can do with your kids if students are overwhelmed with fear and uncertainty. So I think it's important first to address the virus, what's going on, and make sure you address that directly before we start getting back into kind of a learning mode. Okay, so education about the virus. Like I said, address fears and concerns, ease minds before you attempt to continue the learning process. My suggestion is to use multilingual information if you're able. I have a great resource that's going to be on the Padlet at the end. I just want to make sure, is everybody tracking with my slides right now? Okay. Yes, there is, Leslie, there is a central location for information, and I have it posted on the Padlet at the end, so you'll see that there. Use multilingual information when possible. Disseminate compiled lists also if possible. Like if you have one student who's asking where to buy toilet paper, rather than firing off, oh, I saw this, I saw this, I saw this, I saw this. There are so many lists online right now that are being constantly updated. And I just think it's a lot more helpful for you to be able to send one collective thing to everyone to kind of keep the chaos at a minimum. A compiled list of free meals, compiled list of free online education subscriptions. Try to find those lists when possible. Ask direct questions. Again, don't be afraid to beat around the bush right now, and be understanding. I mean, don't be afraid to be direct. Don't beat around the bush right now. Let's support each other in a direct way and be understanding of students' fears without contributing to them. I think this is really important because there's so much speculation and questioning and confusion. I would say answer questions with answers that you're 100% sure of, and other than that, leave it to somebody else. So if you're talking about when can they make up a test, maybe direct them to a program administrator. If you're talking about whether their son has coronavirus, direct them to the health department. Anything that you're not qualified to answer, I think it's best just not to answer it and not to speculate and not to feed into the confusion. I know as educators, that's hard for us. We want to always have the answer, but at this time, I think it's best just to kind of give them the resources when we don't have the answers. And then offer fun ways for parents to educate their children. So a lot of parents are wondering how to talk to their children about the coronavirus. I've seen a lot of stuff online, fun hand washing games. I saw a great germ transmission experiment with some pepper and some soap. It was very simple. I'll put that on the Padlet. And there's recipes for making your own hand sanitizer and disinfectant wipes. So that kind of stuff that helps parents have a productive way to talk to their kids about something that is otherwise pretty scary, I think is really helpful. Okay, we're back to a quick Q&A. Does anyone have questions about how to talk to students about the virus and how to keep them informed about the virus? Okay, awesome. Leah said there's a great Daniel Tiger video on how to talk to kids about it. That's great. I posted an article on the Padlet that we're going to show at the end that is a PBS article about how to talk to your kids about the coronavirus. I think that's great too. Okay, so yeah, that's good, Cody. Yeah, Don't answer anything, even if you think you know, because you might not have the most recent information. So again, if we're talking about when classes are going to start or stuff like that, it's best just to direct them to an administrator who will be able to answer. Okay, Betsy said, going back to our last topic, that talking points translates messages to students. So that's great. I think it's great to, right now, communicate in their first language if you have low-level students, just, because it's an important thing, and they, don't want to be decoding in their second language what's going on with a pandemic. Okay, Mary Margaret, thank you for bringing that up. You had a student who was overwhelmed by all the material her kid's teacher was sending. We have some guides that I'm going to put up later on helping parents through that, but that's a great thing to address. Does anyone else have ideas for how to support parents as they're receiving assignments from the school? Okay. Okay, so she wanted to know if it was appropriate to tell the teacher that it was too much. Pam is also overwhelmed. Okay, I'm seeing a problem here. Anybody have advice for that? My kids are not yet in kindergarten, so I'm not dealing with that same thing. Does anyone have an idea what they're doing? Okay, notify the parent that not all the material has to be completed. Okay, so it sounds like, Leah, am I correct that maybe they're sending stuff home just to help parents continue the education, but that it's not like as strict as it might seem? Okay, they're sending home packets. Yeah. Yes, that's a great point, Angel. Okay, so I want to go back to what Lama said because it's relevant right now that with the coronavirus stuff. Lama said, should we mention that there is a lot of fake information and how to avoid it? I think it's maybe worth mentioning that there's fake information, but I think the best thing to do would be to identify yourself as a reliable source of information and be the person who gives them the information. So in other words, if you have students who have questions and stuff, give them the correct information or point them toward websites and things that you know are reliable. If they have the right information, it'll be easier for them to filter out everything else. But yes, it's definitely worth saying, hey, there's a lot of stuff going around. Check your sources. Yeah. Okay, great. We're talking a lot about like parents and educational activities. So I'm going to go ahead and transition into the next section that deals more directly with that stuff. And then if you guys want to continue at the end, it sounds like we have a lot of questions about what the school system is giving out. Let's continue that discussion after I get through the parenting stuff, because I definitely think that's a talk worth having, and one that we could, we have some people on here who would be able to guide us. Okay, so supporting parents, advice and resources to help parents maintain healthy households during school closures. First, I want to talk about, and Leah contributed this lovely schedule, the one with the sunshine. Thank you, Leah. Making a schedule, I have turned that into an assignment for my class. So I have moms right now making schedules for their families, which is accomplishing 2 learning objectives. One is the family literacy, the parenting part, and also the language part. So turn that into a fun assignment for your class if you are able, and that will help them kind of focus and think through, okay, how am I going to turn this time into something productive? Encourage them to keep a routine, especially for bedtime and mealtime. Those are 2 things that are so essential for children's development and growth. So I would really emphasize that with your students, to maintain a bedtime routine and a mealtime routine. And the other things might get shuffled around, and that's okay. But those 2 things are really central. Some ideas, you can show them examples online. I got these 2 online. work it into a recent lesson or topic. So I had a lesson recently about daily activities, so that worked very nicely for me. And have them compare schedules. So I know a lot of you don't have classes that are just parents. So if you find yourself in that situation, well, why don't we compare how George, who's single, is handling his quarantine versus, you know, Mary and Michael, who are married with 5 kids, and look at their schedules and what's different and what activities are different, you know, things like that. Make it something interesting that they can do as a class and that they can kind of connect with each other on. And give them feedback. You know, don't be afraid to say, hey, you know, you forgot to include when you're gonna eat lunch. So what time is your family gonna eat lunch? Things like that. Okay, so sanity. How do we maintain our sanity being locked up in our house with our kids for a long period of time? So I want you guys to go ahead and fire off. What are your best tips for avoiding cabin fever? I need these, you guys. Oops, sorry, I closed down my thing. Go outside, yes. Go for a walk. Lama says working out, reading, art, music, yoga, exercise. A great vacation to Disney World. No parks because the virus can live on the equipment. Okay. Art projects. Everybody is about outside. I'm so in agreement. Yeah, we have some parents who are still working, and that's important to remember. A lot of resources online. Oh, wow, a FaceTime group that meets a couple of nights a week. That's really interesting. Someone is live streaming music. That's great. Write letters to grandma. I heard someone suggest, you know, to reach out to the elderly, call your grandparents, chat with the family. Yes. Board games. Okay. I know these are supposed to be for our students, but I'm actually trying to take notes on these. Cooking with the family, uplifting movies. Yes. Tech hygiene, that's good. And stick to a routine, absolutely. Yes, okay, these are all great suggestions. So I'm gonna give you guys mine. Use sunlight and music to guide the mood throughout the day. So I like to open all the curtains in the morning, and I like to open the windows a lot, but nobody else in the house likes that. And make it nice and bright during the day, and then make it nice and dark when it's nighttime, just to help us maintain that circadian rhythm. And then I also use music, you know, if it's kind of a downtime and I need everybody to chill, then maybe some nice peaceful classical music. But if I'm energized and we're outside, I'll put on, you know, the Moana soundtrack or some Troll soundtrack, something more fun and upbeat. So I just use that light and the music to kind of, okay, there's changes happening in our day. We're not just staying stagnant. You guys have some great tips. I love that about reaching out to the elderly, you know, who are right now. I'm sure it's a very nerve-wracking time for them. So it's helpful to them, and it's also helpful for us just to stay connected. The FaceTime group, great idea. Okay, and then stimulus. So look at the schedule you made. Have your students look at the schedule. How can, I don't know why that last picture didn't go. Okay, how can each of these blocks of time be used as learning opportunities? So a lot of times we are so focused on, okay, I need to teach my kid, I need to teach my kid, I need to teach my kid. But there are so many opportunities throughout the day in our normal routine that give us the opportunity to teach them something. So just looking at these pictures, you guys, what learning concepts can we teach in these activities? Start planting that summer garden. Okay, measurement if you're cooking, hygiene when you're brushing your teeth. Yes. Yes, great. Home economics, sequencing, sanitation. Oh, kindness. Yes, reading to your siblings, reading, zoning out words. Yeah, I mean, when we're brushing our teeth, I count with my son. Well, I count because he's brushing his teeth, but and I also divide his mouth into different sections. I do this section, do this section, and so yeah, there's like so many learning concepts embedded into just our everyday life that we can tap into. So help your students think about that. Your students who are parents, start that conversation. And like I just did, show some pictures of everyday activities and have them think, okay, what learning concepts are in this moment? Cooking, yes, great. Yeah, responsibility. I mean, that's an important thing to learn. And giving them that routine helps us teach them that. Great. Okay, so then I wanted to give you guys some educational resources that I have found. There are so many out there right now. I mean, I got so many. I've seen so many on Facebook. There are so many. So my suggestion to you, I have curated a smaller list for you guys, and my suggestion to you is just to kind of curate. Think about what age we can include this in the survey, Tristan, what age are the kids of your students so that you're sending out something that's like age appropriate, and maybe what concepts are important for that age. If we're talking about young children from birth to age 5, reading is about the most important thing that we can encourage their parents to do with them. So if that's where the bulk of your students are in their parenting journey, then reading resources would be appropriate. Now, if it's someone who's, with kids that are much older, and they're having the packets sent out anyway by their schools, so that sounds like that's going to be helpful too. But you might consider focusing more on something like science resources. This number 1 has been so great. I've been doing it with my son. He's having so much fun with it, and I love it. I'm going to show you guys what it looks like here. Yeah, thank you, Cody. A lot of the resources are for younger kids. So share resources for older kids. Like I know the public libraries, the online books are open and free. So if they can check out a book for their older kid on the public library website. Okay, so on this website, you can choose the grade level. So you see we do have older kids included. I have a kindergartner, so I'm going to click on that one. And they give you day 1. So this here is they read you the book in a video, and there's animation, so it's fun. And then this one is a book that you can read aloud to them, but it's online, so it's all there for you. There's a video and then a movement and measurement activity, which we did yesterday. I actually took a video of us doing the activity together, and I shared this resource on Google Classroom with the moms so that they would see what it offers, but then also see it in action and see that, we're actually doing it. And I thought that would be fun for them to watch. So things like that. That's a great one. I'm seeing you guys are active over in the chat. Yeah, the virtual museum tour. So texting subscriptions are also great. They send you little pieces of advice or little activities to do. So there's 2, Bright by Text and Vroom. Bright by Text, actually both of them you can tailor, like you tell them your kid's age and they'll send you something that's age appropriate. ABC Mouse is a computer program, but it's compatible across many, many different devices. And it's for ages 2 through 8. Right now they're offering a 30-day free month of ABC Mouse. Online story time, this is so cool. I think somebody mentioned it. Yeah, Angel mentioned this. This is so fun. Actors are reading storybooks online for free. I love that. And like I said, for kids, especially before kindergarten, stories and reading to them is like the best thing you can do. So, all right, then we have somebody's mentioning the museum tours. So I have this link to the virtual field trips. Again, all of this is going to be in a central place at the end for you to look at. We've got virtual field trips, so art museums, activities and resources, zoos. A lot of places are setting up cameras and doing tours during the day of really interesting places. So that's another idea that you can share with your families. And then the Barbara Bush Toolkit, I love the Barbara Bush Foundation. They make a lot of great stuff for families. And so this has a lot of different tools for parents and family activities. So another one that's really worth looking at. Okay, so I wanted to just touch on this quickly. We're talking about these educational resources. How can you connect what parents are doing with their children to their actual learning objectives in your class? So let's take it a step beyond just sharing with them, hey, this is really helpful, do this with your kid. How could you actually incorporate that into your instruction? Do you guys have any ideas for that? Debbie, that's true. I mentioned the tour of the museum to my son today, and he's like, we're going to a museum? And I was like, oh, no. Yes, Betsy, thank you so much for mentioning that. Yes, students can read to their kids in their L1 too. It is equally beneficial. So if they have books at home that are in Spanish or Tagalog or whatever language they speak, yes, please encourage them to be reading with their children in any language. Yeah, thanks, Meg. So we could pre-teach vocabulary from those different activities. Time to learn and use the dictionary. Yes, great. Any other ideas? How can we incorporate these activities with kids into our instruction? Life skills. Yeah. Great. Okay. So I was also thinking with like the online story time, if you can formulate a couple questions, that's a good way to get your students to get some listening practice and check their comprehension at the end. With the Scholastic books and things like that, have them write a little report on how they did the activity with their kid. Did they have to change any of the materials? But yeah, there's so many things that we can do to expand these activities beyond just giving it to them and saying, here, you can do this with your kids. We can actually incorporate it into an assignment for language learning, or if you're a GED instructor, for math, graphing, things like that. So try to think beyond just let me share these resources into let me share these resources, and also how can I make them more beneficial to the parent as well. Oh, quick Q&A. Okay, I know we just shared a lot of ideas. Let's see, does anybody else have any questions about this? Michelle, that's a great idea. Ask students to contribute an idea for a new source they find and why they recommend it. Llama, evaluate the activity. Yes, so you can have them do the activity and then kind of critique it at the end. Okay, Jess is recommending some neat science videos, Animalogic. Jess, at the end of this, I hope you'll post that to the Padlet. That would be great for everybody to see. Reading, okay, great. What activity will they do next? Thank you, Llama. Another great suggestion, after you complete an activity with your child, write about some follow-up that you're gonna do. What's next? What's your next learning objective for them? Okay, thank you, Sterner, for readtheory.org. Please post it on the Padlet at the end. Ask students to share about the experience. Great. Reading and understanding directions and labels. Great. Yes. Yeah, great, Anna. We can have older kids write books and rate the books that they read. Okay. Yes, reading, I mean, for me, I always think reading is number one. I mean, math is important too, but is it? No, just kidding. Okay. All right, so our last section here is about engaging students. How are we going to continue delivering our course content during the closures? So here are some tips. First of all, we need to think of a way to incentivize students to engage with the stuff that we're giving them. So I was thinking maybe a point system where they can earn points for posting a video where they're speaking English, or they can earn points for completing an online math concepts activity. Or another idea I had was a pizza party. So if you guys all complete X, Y, and Z, then when we get back into class, we'll have a pizza party. I think it's good for all of us to be looking into the future a little bit now too. It makes us hopeful. The toilet paper, that was a joke. But maybe if you are hoarding toilet paper, maybe you could turn that into an incentive. Number two, I think it's important right now to show our face to our students. So, you know, if you can record a video, I posted a link on the Padlet to a good tool for recording videos and sharing them with students rather than video conferencing. Record a video or video conference with them. They're used to seeing your face, and they'd rather, I think, see you talk about something enthusiastically than get a link somewhere. You know what I'm saying? Also participate and set the tone. So if you're sending them activities to do, or you're asking them to engage with a lot of things, make sure that you're also right there with them engaging. Number four, giving feedback. So if they are getting on and actually doing the activities that you're recommending for them, give them feedback, show them that you're right there with them. It's going to keep their enthusiasm up and keep them focused. Also, number five, be picky about the things that you are asking students to use for their learning. So don't ask them to download 5 different language learning apps is what I'm trying to say. Hone it down to something. Maybe limit yourself in all of the new things that you're giving them. So if they have their textbooks at home right now, give them some activities out of the textbook that are familiar and comfortable with them. Have them take a picture and send you their answers or something. But don't just convert everything into this wild digital online world where they're gonna be overwhelmed. So I have some tools here that I'll show you real quick. Let me close these. Okay, what if students ask if this type of participation counts towards their hours? I have some who are not parents that would like to reach out to all students, but this question will be asked. Yes, Leslie, it will be asked. My recommendation is to talk to your program manager about that question and see what they say. And that's why I say to incentivize it, because there is the chance that those hours will not be counted for anything. But if your students are motivated to learn English or to improve their math skills or whatever, they'll be happy to engage in the activities. But you can also help to motivate them by giving incentives and by remaining enthusiastic yourself and by engaging with them. So here is a list of free online curricula. This will be on the Padlet, so you guys will get a copy of this. There's ESOL stuff and then more advanced stuff here. The Links Learner Center is also great with all different subjects, even has job skills. You can direct students there and come up with some activities. USA Learns, I just signed up for this one, so I'm still getting a feel for it. I don't know if you've used it, feel free to chime in on the chat. But this is a free resource for learning English. And then there is a Learning Upgrade webinar. So I just wanted to point that out to you guys in case you're interested. Learning Upgrade's Remote Learning Action Plan webinar. In case you guys are interested in participating in that as well. That's tomorrow at 2. I'm all about webinars right now because I feel like we have a lot to learn. We need to collaborate. We need to come up with fresh ideas together. So I love a good webinar. Okay, so does anybody have more ideas for how to keep students engaged with the course content? So depending on what you're teaching, how are you going to keep students wanting to study that while we're on this break that we don't know how long it may last? Any ideas? Yeah, Pam, good point. We may need to be reaching out regularly to keep them on track, texting them regularly. YouTube videos are simple to make. You can make them private. Okay, Betsy, what are you using the YouTube videos for? Anna, recommendations for not tech savvy students. I have plenty of them. I would say to keep it simple as you can. Make sure it's smartphone friendly, whatever you choose to use. And if your class you feel like have good relationships and rapport, get them to help each other. So you can call this person and see if they can explain it to this person, get them to rely on each other. Another thing, if they're not tech savvy, make sure you're providing them with ample support in the form of tutorials and instructions. Don't just send them a link and say, hey, go there and do this, but actually make sure they can figure out how to do it. Okay, great. Post a problem or puzzle of the day with a point incentive or other incentive. I love that, Nadine. Yes, that's great. Like doing a daily thing. Laura, what if students don't respond? I would say if students aren't responding, reach out to them on a more individual basis. Show them your enthusiasm. It may take a while because, everybody's still trying to figure out their schedule and figure out what is actually going on. So, don't expect them to all be jumping on right now and completing 30 different assignments. But if they don't respond, just try to get feedback from them. Like, what time is good for you? Can we video conference? What do you guys need from me? What do you need resources, or would you prefer English practice, or what do you need? Okay, have students use the school's social media page to get information about the latest info. My students use voice memos to send recordings of short readings from the textbook to me, and I send feedback to them. That's awesome, Sherry. I think that's a great idea. Use voice memos to record short presentations or speeches, 1 minute each. That's great. And I find too, if you're thinking about doing things that are kind of live like that, if you do it first, they're more apt to respond. So if you're going to ask them to deliver a speech, maybe show them a model speech that you have prepared. I think that it makes them a little more comfortable. For assignments, students could make a presentation using Screencastify, which is a Google extension. I think there's a phone app. Okay, great. That's a great idea. Okay, guys, so I want to go ahead and show you our Padlet. Are you proud of me, Leah? Leah's a Padlet pro. Okay, so here's our Padlet. I've got it divided into a couple of different sections. So over here in Staying Connected, this is where I have posted things about how to stay connected with your students, tools for communicating with your students. In Informing Students, this is coronavirus related, resources for letting them know about what the coronavirus is, where they can find resources to get through the quarantine and things like that. Educational activities for the kids. This is the part that's going to be for parents. What can they do with their kids? Advice, tips for success. And then engaging students. This is all about our course content in adult ed. So workforce development, GED prep, ESL resources here. Okay. So you guys, I want you to contribute. In order to add something, you just click on the plus sign, write a title, and then you can upload a file, you can add a link, You can add something from a Google search, or you can use the camera to take a picture of yourself, which I don't see how that's going to help, but maybe it will. So mostly I've been using the links. As you can see, I've added a lot of links about all different types of stuff. So you guys, I would love for you to get on there now, add all of your resources, and engage with that. You can also delete it. Just click the little trash can, and yes, I want it to delete that. Okay, I'm putting up a QR code. If you have an iPhone, you should be able to just use your camera and scan the QR code to access our. If you are an Android user, you'll need don't download an app. I will send you a link to the Padlet as soon as we finish. I'm going to send out this presentation and a link to the Padlet so that you guys can interact with all of the content, and share your own resources and stuff on there. Are there any questions, ideas, anything before we close? No problem. It was my pleasure. Be sensitive about privacy. Yes, thank you, Betsy. Be sensitive about privacy as we're in the digital world. Don't share people's information with other students if they're not comfortable. Great. Yes, you guys, I'm so happy to do it. I really wish you all the best. Take care of yourselves first and foremost, and I hope that this is helpful to you. Please feel free to reach out to me on my email with any questions. I'm happy to be here for you and for the families that are in Maryland wondering what to do with their kids right now. Thank you guys so much. I'm going to pass it over to Gina. Gina, if you want to close it out. And please upload your resources.
In the spirit of families, I figured.
Baby, hi.
Hi, everyone. So if anyone needs anything, I'm going to get the recording for this to Rachel shortly, and then I'm sure she'll send out the presentation as well as the link to the Padlet. But I hope everyone stays safe and washes their hands.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.